welcome back up to the Vinyl Attic. Fall is starting to fall. You can tell by the jumper that I'm wearing, as I call it in England, the sweater. We're ready to be comfy and cozy and talk about vinyl as the rain settles in and things cool off. I'm so happy that you're here. We are doing our 100 albums that must be in your collection, 100 albums that matter, according to me, Dr. Randy Blazak. Professor of sociology and music. And I'm really excited about the album we're talking about today, which is Lene Lovich's debut album, Stateless. Comes out in Britain in October 78 and the United States in early 79. And I want to start this discussion with a question. And you might not expect this. What makes country music country music? How do you know when you're listening to a song it's a country music song? What message is your ear sending your brain that says, oh, this is a country music song? Is it the instrumentation? Does it have to have a pedal steel guitar? Maybe not. I mean, that Brooks and Dunn stuff sounds pretty close to rock to me. Is it about the lyrical content? You know, you're singing about everyday life and love lost. A lot, but not always. What about vocal inflection? What is the thing that connects Hank Williams Jr. to Shaboozey? It's that little hiccup or that little twang in the voice that says, "Oh, this is a country music record." Even the Chappelle Roan song that's out, she adds a little inflection in her voice. It tells you, "Oh, this is country music I'm listening to." A lot of the other stuff doesn't matter. It's all about that vocal inflection. The reason I mention this is because in the late 70s there was this genre that emerges called New Wave. And people were trying to figure out what is New Wave and what isn't New Wave. And it's trying to separate itself from pop and arena rock and Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. But it's also trying to separate itself from punk, which punk is more working class, more aggressive, more anarchy, and let's tear society down. New Wave is more middle class, more art school. And one of the things, instrumentation and content of lyric are important, is the idea of vocal inflection. Just think about Rick Ocasek from the Cars, or Mark Mothersbaugh from Devo, or Kate Pearson and Cindy Wilson from the B-52s. The little bit in their voice, it's a little chirpy. It's a little, you're not trying to sing broad arias or sing out how strong you are. It's sort of herky-jerky. I mean, even Paul McCartney, who's one of the greatest voices in the history of modern music, in the late 70s recorded a new wave song called Boil Crisis, which he never released, which he does that affect on his voice to tell us that it's new wave. So if there is a definitive female version of that, it's Lene Lovich, who I don't know if we can call her the godmother of New Wave, but she certainly plays an important role of identifying what is New Wave. Art school student, voice that's sort of off-kilter. And it's funny, when I've loved this record. It's one of those records like the album I was talking about last week that I discovered on by videos in the late 70s, watching after-school videos, that I always thought she was English. She seems very English. She is English, but in fact she was born in Michigan in 1949 as Lily Marlene Prelimovich in Detroit, Michigan. But her mother was English, and when she's 13 she moved to England, went to art school and did all that stuff. Was a part of a band called the Diversions, and then strikes out on her own and records a demo for a song that a lot of people know from Tommy James and the Shondells, later from some mall rat. I Think We're Alone Now. I think we're alone now. I mean, Tommy James and the Shondells had so many songs that were discovered over and over, including Joan Jett doing Crimson and Clover. Tiffany, that's the mall rat. Oh, God, that was a horrible version. And records a demo of it, and it gets it to a guy who's a DJ at BBC, and he's like, we can do something with this. We can do something with it. And brings it to Stiff Records, and Stiff says, yeah, we'd love to release it. Now, Stiff in the mid-70s or the late 70s is sort of the punk rock label in London. They've got Elvis Costello, they've got Reckless Eric, they've got Ian Dury and the Blockheads, they've got the English versions of Devo, they've got Madness a little bit later, and a little bit later the Pogues. I mean, their motto, I remember seeing the t-shirts being just so shocked, and the motto was, if it ain't stiff, it ain't worth a fuck. Get the double entendre? Oh, I just finally figured that out. It's a boner joke. Oh my god, I just figured that out. I'm a little slow. Anyway, Stiff says yes. We'd love to put out as a single. You need a B-side. You need another side. She's like, I don't have another. So she and her guitarist, Les Chappelle, go and write a song called Lucky Number. And the song is released as a single. The DJs, because Lucky Number is such a freaking brilliant song, flip it over and play Lucky Number. And it goes all the way up to number 3 on the British charts. And then she is then invited to make the entire album that she and Les Chappelle produce. And again, she's sort of an art school person, so it's going to have this little bit of a cabaret-ish art school vibe, but be marinating in this new genre of new wave, which means kind of being a little bit staggered. A little, bringing a little bit of reggae, bringing a little bit of cabaret, speeding up the beat, not focusing too much on guitar solos and things like that, and also accompanying it with music videos. Again, this is a new thing, is this idea that these art students had music that had to be seen as well as heard. And this is before MTV, right? So, this stuff starts going out and people start discovering this record. It's released first in Britain and then a few months later in the United States and finds an audience and becomes this great record. I mean, it's sort of, it's very kind of artsy in its presentation. This is the American cover. And includes, I think, We're Alone Now, but also Say When, which is a really great, another great single that was on this record. And captures the opportunity for middle-class kids. This is where it gets a little autobiographical. Middle-class kids who are a little bit put off by the aggressive nature of punk rock. I mean, remember punk rock was like spitting on each other. Like punk rock was Sid Vicious in a swastika t-shirt. Punk rock was putting a safety pin through your cheek. I mean, there was some real sort of intense stuff associated with the early days of punk rock. British punk rock and American punk rock were a little bit different. American punk rock was more of the Ramones and a little bit more radio friendly, if we could say. But all of a sudden there was a permission structure. Oh, there's that phrase we love, for middle class kids to find a spot between the mainstream music that you're supposed to love and the aggressive stuff about punk rock that really captures your feelings about the world. There's this space created with new wave. In it is Devo. In it is B-52s. In it is all these artists that are popping up that are filling the space that aren't quite. The chorus fit right on the radio right out of the gate, right? But they definitely had this new wave aesthetic associated with them, very visual and angular in their music. So this record comes out, does pretty well, and the following year, 1980, her second album comes out called Flex. And the reason I think about this record, it had this great song called Birdsong on it that I absolutely loved. But the cover created a lot of controversy because people in the South, where I live, thought she was doing witchcraft. There was a lot of Baptists that were like, don't let Lene Lovich into your town. But she did a big American tour and started getting out in front of an American audience. The following year, she put out the New Toy EP. And the song that most people know, if they know Lene Lovich or recognize it, is New Toy, because that comes out in 1981. Has a really great, there's a lot more production value in Flex and New Toy than on the first record. Has a video, and now MTV is out in 1981, and that goes into heavy rotation. And so Lene Lovich becomes sort of this symbol of the new wave music that is being digested by the kids watching MTV across the country. Her career sort of doesn't really keep up with it. She sort of leaves and goes into some other areas and doesn't really focus on the music quite as much. But it was much loved by critics and has kept a part of that history alive. And one of the reasons I wanted to mention Lene Lovich is she's going back on tour this fall. And she's going on tour with Are you ready for it? The B-52s and Devo on their Cosmic De-Evolution tour. She's first on the bill. Lene Lovich coming back, sort of not out of retirement, because she's never really went away, but hasn't really been putting records out. And on the bill with these other great artists from that era who were defining this thing called New Wave. So if you're now nostalgic for New Wave, you're going to want to go see that tour. B-52s, Devo, Lene Lovich. Nobody's going to sing the notes the way that, they were intended. They're all going to be new toy. It's going to be really good. So I wanted to talk about this record because it's great. Every song on it is great, but it is also evocative of a time, a musical style looking for a hat to hang on its head, or sort of a moniker to define it. That it's really the birth of New Wave that we get, in the late 70s. We know that sound when we hear it. Just like we know Shabuzi and Hank Williams are both country music. When we hear Devo, B-52s, and Lene Lovich, we know that they're New Wave. And I love it. She's so great. She's so great. Weird and wonderful as New Wave